Welcome to Hustles Haboobs, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the stories of Arizona's most inspiring business owners. I'm your host, Amanda Miller, and I'm so excited you're here. I feel lucky to get to share the inspiring stories of these hometown heroes. Get ready to learn how they navigate the haboobs of entrepreneurship, chase their dreams, and build something incredible right here in the Grand Canyon State. Let's hustle. Hey, Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
How are you?
Good. I am doing great. Thank you so much for asking. So that our viewers know, would you mind going ahead and just introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your business and who you are?
Yeah, my name's Amy Johnson. I'm the owner of Beauty to Die For. It's a holistic, non-toxic. I do all things hair, services, treatment, color, extensions. I also do organic, plant-based spray tans, and everything is geared towards the health of the hair above everything else.
I love it. You know, it's so funny. When we first talked, when you said that, the health of the hair above anything else. So I've been on my lock journey for, I think I hit over 2 years recently. And I was always so protective and against anyone touching my hair. I wouldn't let anyone touch my hair. And it was just always something that was just so private and personal to me. And my loctician is absolutely amazing. She's a great friend of mine. And I remember telling her, well, I don't know if I could do dreadlocks because I don't want to put beeswax in my hair and I don't want to have to shave my head if I decide I don't want dreadlocks. And she was just like, who told you that? Who's doing locks with beeswax? It's 2022. Second, who told you would have to shave your head? And so I had all of these misconceptions, and I think we'll dig into some of that because I think you may experience some of that with some of your clients, some misconceptions around what it means to take care of the hair above all.
Definitely. There's so much information in general, good, bad, everything in between.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So before we dive too deep in, here on Hustles and Haboobs, one of the things that we do on every episode is we ask our business owners, what's your favorite restaurant in AZ and what do you order when you go?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm a foodie. And so I'm regularly on a mission because as Arizona grows, that's the first thing that's growing is the food. And so I'm always looking to try new places. But I would say it's taken me, I'm from Southern California, Los Angeles.
Okay.
And you can't go anywhere in SoCal and have a bad Mexican food experience. All of it is good. Well, coming to Arizona, it's the opposite. It's very, very hard to find a good Mexican spot.
My heart. No. I think, I'm going to let you finish, but I think that could be like a battle for the ages because I swear California, SoCal thinks they have the best Mexican food. Arizona, we know we have the best Mexican food.
No way. No way. The seasoning, I haven't found it anything close. And it took me 8 years of being out here. 8 years, and I finally found a spot that tastes like home, and it's called Oscar's Taco Shop. It's in
Oscar's good,
like Tempe, Chandler, Ahwatukee, that little area where everything it's right in the middle of all of it on Priest.
Yeah,
and it's so good. But yeah, it took me 8 years to find a place that resembled the Mexican food back home. And so, of course, I'm on a healthy journey now where it's like, I have to wait once in a blue moon to treat myself to it. But it is delicious. It's fresh. The flavors are good. So, yes, give them a shout out because
that's awesome.
I literally almost cried when I ate it.
Oscars. Okay, so I have heard of Oscars. I haven't been there, but sounds like I'm going to have to check them out. And then offline, I'm going to have to send you a little list because I grew up in South Phoenix and we've got great Mexican food. So I'll definitely have to send you a list.
Yes, please.
So Amy, talk to me a little bit about your morning routine, right? So you mentioned when we spoke before the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care, especially, you know, as someone in recovery. Can you walk us through your morning routine and how that sets the tone for your success in your day and in the balance of your day?
Naturally, I am a night owl. It's
Okay.
become more balanced the older I get, but I wake up, my morning routine is very slow. I do not like to be rushed. I don't like
Yeah.
to have to be somewhere the first thing in the morning. It gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm an adult, and so I do what I have to do regardless.
Yeah.
But my ideal morning routine is waking up without an alarm clock. I prefer not to
Yes.
set an alarm clock and let my body naturally wake up the way it wants to. Obviously, I'm not letting my body sleep until 9, 10, 11 o'clock, but I've gotten my body clock down to waking up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, naturally without an
Yeah.
alarm,
Yeah.
making some coffee. I've tried the whole bone broth thing and then like the turmeric, like apple cider vinegar shots, and it never made my gut feel right. So
Yeah.
I'm still looking for something
Yeah.
because I know that it's important to line your gut with something before drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Normally, I make my coffee. I use a French press, so I like romanticize making my
Oh,
coffee. I do it very
I
slowly.
love
I make
that.
my own coffee creamer so that there's no preservatives and gross stuff in it, and I just romanticize it and take my time. And then normally I get, which is bad, and I'm changing it, but normally I get right on my phone and I'm working for the business,
Yeah.
looking for people looking for hair, putting together blog posts, social media posts, and just kind of jumping right into work
Yeah.
with coffee first thing. I am changing that now to starting to incorporate yoga before I work and setting that boundary with myself so that
Nice.
I
Yeah.
get into my body. Sorry, my phone keeps falling. Get into my body before I, let the world in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said about romanticizing your coffee in the morning. And you mentioned your French press. I'm a coffee drinker.
Mhm.
I love coffee. I grind my beans fresh every morning. I have my French press out and I don't use it enough. I have my French press, I have my water kettle, and you just inspired me to tomorrow morning I'm having French press coffee and it's going to be
The best.
glorious. You said you make your
And
own
it's
just
saved my apartment so much space. Like I don't have a coffee machine on
oh
the counter
yeah.
taking up space and cluttering. It's super simple.
Yeah. And you said that you make your own coffee creamer. Just super briefly, can you talk to us a little bit about how you make that creamer?
It's so I'm always on the lookout for how to do things healthier. First of all, I don't do the oils, I don't do the preservatives, I don't do the chemicals. So I'm constantly reading my labels with everything I put into my body. And the first round that I did was sweetened condensed milk. And you just, again, going back, you got to read your labels to everything
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you pick the right company that is only doing sweetened condensed milk and not
Mm-hmm.
anything else in that.
Yeah.
So I do that. I add pure raw cane sugar and then vanilla extract and then pumpkin puree is the one that I most recently did with it.
Oh, okay.
And some 2% milk or whatever milk of your choice. And so that's
Okay.
a healthier version
Yeah.
of like the creamers that you buy in the store. And then an even healthier
That are
version
mostly
of that.
oil based.
Yeah. And it's like, why is there oil in our milk? It's
I
drives me crazy.
it's the weirdest thing.
It
I
doesn't make sense.
remember. Yeah,
It's
it really
they're
doesn't.
highly inflammatory too. Like they're not using like avocado oil that's good for you. They're using canola oil, which inflames your body and your brain and your gut. And it's a mess
Yeah.
now. But I'm
It's a
hopeful
mess.
that it's being worked out.
So I don't I'm not a dairy free person. I like ice cream and yogurt and cheese and I
Mhm.
my relationship with those items is ever evolving. But I don't drink milk. I don't drink cow's milk, and I haven't for a long time. So I always have dairy-free creamer. And that has been just such a journey because there's good ones, there's bad ones.
Yes.
I found this really, and everyone tells me try nut pods.
They're
I'm not
so
a fan
expensive
personally.
for like this. I will
And
drink that in
the
one
container,
day.
the container is so small, and I'm just not a fan. I don't. It doesn't do it for me. So that is like the ever evolving journey of trying to find a good coffee creamer. But we digress.
Coconut cream is a good substitute for wheat and condensed milk. Get coconut cream. My favorite that I found is the one from Trader Joe's. That one.
Okay. So you mentioned getting right into work, and so coconut cream, Trader Joe's. Sorry.
Oh, and then obviously, like, I wash my face and brush my teeth and do all those things too.
Well, yeah, those are the givens, right?
You never know these days. I just wanted to clarify.
The hopeful givens.
Right.
Oh man. Yeah. So that has me thinking, the morning routine has me thinking, one of the things I really like to do in the morning personally is I do like to read, but I know that, other people read it at all different times of day. Like I'm a morning person also, and I'm big, like no alarm clock crew, unless I have something to do at like an ungodly hour. My body is waking up at 5 or 5:30. So I haven't set an alarm clock actually probably in several months. I haven't set an alarm clock.
I wish my body woke up that early. I want that so bad.
Sometimes there are some times when I want to sleep in. I'm like, oh, I'm going to sleep in. Like, for instance, the other day, I told my son, I was like, hey, I set the coffee maker, just press, go in the morning, because he has to be at work early now. He's 18, and I'm trying to help him get into his routine. And I said, I probably won't see you before you go to work. I had planned on sleeping in. I was up at 5. Like, hey, bud. But a question that I have.
It's different when you have kids too. I don't have kids. So
yeah. Because it was always that alone time. That if I didn't wake up early in the morning and have that time, I wasn't going to get any time to myself for the rest of the day. So that's a really good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But so let's shift gears. In your journey building your holistic hair business, and in being and becoming a business owner over the years, what resources or books have been impactful? Are there any, recommendations you'd offer to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those maybe in the beauty industry or just in general?
I'm a reader, so there's a lot. This actually is one of my daily non-negotiables, the language of letting go.
Okay.
It is a recovery-based daily reflection journal, but it applies whether you're in recovery or not.
Okay.
Also, journal every day.
Yeah.
And get everything out.
Yeah.
Most recently, what I'm really into it's called the Daily Stoic. And you can sign up for daily emails, and that has been like life-changing. I'm obsessed with reading it every single day. I get so excited.
Okay. I think I've heard of the Daily Stoic. They like send you prompts for to write.
Yeah,
I love that.
About things like the 48 laws of power, and there's just very insightful. It just really gets you thinking, and I like doing that for thing in the day because it just keeps inspiring me.
Man,
And then The Alchemist is like,
yeah,
everybody has to read that.
Yeah, I must admit I've read like Cliff's Notes. I have not fully sat down and read The Alchemist, but it is definitely,
you'll finish it in like
on
an
my
hour
list.
and a half. You'll get through it.
It's on my list. If I could turn my camera, I'm a reader myself as well. I love books. I actually one of the things that will be like a testament that like I've made it will be when I have a library in my home.
Right.
A room dedicated to just a library. I remember growing up, my grandparents, in their house, they had a library. And it was a room, it was a bedroom, but it was converted into a library. And I just remember thinking, my grandparents have a library. And when I would talk to friends and stuff, and I would say, oh, and I was at my granddaddy and Nana's house, and yeah, I slept in the library this weekend. We were over there, and there was a let out bed in there. And your grandparents have a library in their house? Like, yeah, so that was always like one of my feelings, like, man, my grandparents really have it together,
Right.
like they've got a library. And one of I think the best gifts my sister and I ever gave to my mom. My mom is a huge reader, and she has a ton of books, and she collects limited editions and signed copies and things like that. And we built her a library nook in the basement, and she was just ecstatic over it. It was really, really fun to do,
love
and really
stuff
fun
like
to see
that.
her reaction.
The
Yeah.
homemade, like,
Yeah.
hardback ones too that I see people make.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's definitely on my life goal list.
Right? It's just one of those it's one of those like you've done it when, and getting to that, especially if you're a reader, that's huge. So the language of letting go,
Mm-hmm.
alchemist, and stoic. What was the other?
The Daily Stoic.
The Daily Stoic. Okay. Awesome. And
As far as
one
hair goes, I'd say I can't remember the title of the book, but it's about Mary Kay, the makeup like billionaire woman. Her story is incredible as far as like beauty business stuff goes. And then there's a book called Blowing My Way to the Top, and it's about the owner of that created the blow dry bars.
Yeah.
Those are really good for beauty business entrepreneurs.
Yeah. That's really great. I feel like I've started, and maybe it's not super new, but I feel like I've started to see more and more of the shared beauty spaces. What are they called? Like the studio, the salon suites. There we go.
Yeah.
And I think Salon Suites is a brand. It's like Kleenex, right? It's a brand, but also just in general, just different salon suites. And that, I think, has been a really big catalyst to beauty business owners having less of a barrier to entry to starting their own businesses. What are your thoughts, or any experience with that type of business model?
Well, I personally have my own suite. It's not
Nice.
in a corporate place. I'm not anti-corporate. I think that everything is kind of necessary in the grand big picture of the whole at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm personally just not a fan of corporate places in general.
Yeah.
More mom and pop small business vibe. So
yeah,
that I'm currently in, we have like 6 suites, and it's open to like anybody, which I like. Like, we've got hair in there and a barber in there right now, but we've also had a tattoo artist at one point. We're looking to get a massage therapist in there, esthetician. And so I like that about it, where it's like to everybody. My personal journey, every salon and barbershop that I've tried to work at has been extremely toxic. So I got on my own as quickly as I could. Renting a chair was very toxic. So I've just been pushed by the universe in a certain direction. Now, my experience isn't everybody's experience, because I've heard other stylists be able to do, the typical assist for someone and then get into a big name salon and everything's beautiful. But that's my story. And so I think it depends on your own personal journey. I think everybody has their own unique path. And for me, this has been mine, where I've been pushed and guided to be in my own suite and create what I can't see in the world for myself, which is healthy products that don't have bad chemicals. Not all chemicals are bad, but the beauty industry, just like everything else that we're seeing, is not regulated. And it's just really learning how to act with integrity and doing what I would want someone to do for myself, which is, really take the time to research these products and these ingredients to make sure what I'm putting on my clients is healthy for them and not causing them cancer and all this other stuff, and taking responsibility for what I'm creating and putting out in the world. So being in a suite gives me the ability to do that on a smaller scale.
Yeah. I think it's really incredible that you were able to recognize early on that, which or maybe over time, which direction your path was. I have, lots of friends who are in the beauty industry in one aspect or another: estheticians, hairdressers, nail techs, locticians, and I have heard the gamut of, great experience. I know my sister-in-law, or not my sister-in-law, but I guess my ex-sister-in-law. She worked for Aveda, right? And I got to hear kind of those stories and see that whole journey. And then
afterwards, because I've always been curious about them.
I won't say it went great. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's a big organization, right? Like what is it, like Marc Jacobs and all those different types of orgs. And then I do know a lot of small business owners who they've rented chairs, as you mentioned. And anytime you're in business, there are personalities that you're going to have to deal with. And we have to determine, is this an opportunity for me to deal better with different personalities, or no, this just doesn't align with my values, and I need to remove myself from this situation. And it's definitely up to the individual to figure that out. I'm not in the beauty industry, but I've had to make those decisions myself of, okay, is this an opportunity for me to grow, or is this something that I just need to part ways with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk a little bit about productivity, right? You started to mention, blog posts and reaching out and finding potential clients, prospecting, things along those lines. As a business owner, juggling multiple responsibilities, it can be tough, and staying organized and being productive is a huge balance. Are there any tools or strategies that you use to maximize your time and be most effective?
Honestly, I wish I could say yes, because I think it would make me look better. But no, honestly, like, in a world that is constantly trying to push us to rush and consume and pump out information without even thinking about what we're saying, I do the opposite within myself. Everything is a mirror, whether it's a mirror of your shadow or whether it's a true reflection of yourself. And so I'm constantly using things that make me angry and upset that I am aware of in the world and in other people and just in human nature in general, and turning that back inward to make myself better, for lack of a better word. And one of those things is really using just being more intuitive with my energy and naturally doing things as they come. And so when the inspiration hits is when I will focus on that blog post that I've been wanting to share information with. I really have to go with my intuition, because otherwise I find myself resistant to creating, and it blocks the creativity. And I don't like having things also be about money, even though my relationship with money has gotten better, and obviously it's a necessity for everybody in this world. But I also do not want that energy and intention behind what I'm putting out. And so it's very much random, honestly.
Do you feel like, so being in tune with your intuition, and being intuitive about our actions has incredible benefits.
Mhm.
But there's also a side of, well, for me, for instance, writing. I enjoy writing, but I enjoy it more when I feel like writing,
Mhm.
right? So like blog posts, things like that. But I also find that I don't super often feel like writing. And if part of my business model is, or part of my SEO model is getting that content out there, I do find sometimes having to force myself to execute on something. Do you find that that's just a balance that you have to find when you're owning a business, or working, to grow your client base?
I think that there's daily things that you have to do, obviously, that end up becoming more of something that goes on autopilot, depending
Mm-hmm.
on what you're doing for the business. But I do think that there are things that the lesson in it might be to stop yourself from going on autopilot and becoming
Yeah.
more intentional and aware with what you're creating and what you're doing. And for me, that's all encompassing. It's not just with my business, it's with my personal life as well. So,
Yeah.
learning about the food industry and becoming intentional with what I'm putting in my body and what I'm making at home, that takes a lot of time and energy in itself. And I don't want to put out anything that could be detrimental just to put it out there. Like, I'm very
Mm,
into researching and getting the facts and information about something before I start teaching it to my clients. Before I start talking
mm,
about it, I want to know the ins and the outs. And that also takes a lot of time too. So it's basically like the research part of like whatever it is. If it's a blog post or if it's testing new products, I just got a line in to test because I test everything on myself before I bring it in the salon. And, immediately I put the shampoo on my hair and I'm like, no, this is not it. And I have to like throw it away. And so it's stuff like that where that's what I see out in the world is a bunch of people putting crap out there, whether it's videos, writing, businesses, anything without thinking, just to get money, 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 money,
mm.
money, and to do, 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 do. And it's hiding the people that are actually creating and being intentional and like putting out like the good information and all this stuff. It reminds me of, have you seen the movie The Labyrinth with David Bowie?
Not in so long,
Rewatch that
but
movie.
yes.
But it reminds me of that where she's with the old woman and all this stuff starts to like pile on.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then she like becomes aware all of a sudden, like, oh my God, get away from me. Like, I don't need this. I don't need to carry your baggage, all this stuff. But that's pretty much what
Mm-hmm.
the world is, what the internet has become. And I read this somewhere, I can't remember where I read it from, but it really resonated with me of if you find yourself in the majority, you're going the wrong way.
Mm,
And so that's what I try to think about with everything I'm doing. Like, a blog post. Am I just putting this out there just to put out content with like, do I really know like what I'm talking about right now? Do I really know if these ingredients are good or bad? Do I really know if this is going to benefit someone's hair or not? I look at it like,
mm-hmm.
for instance, you get locks. I have no idea anything about locks. I know about different textures of hair. I know about what is good for the scalp and the hair as far as ingredients go. But as far as actually
Yeah.
like taking care of locks and like doing locks, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So I see all the time all these different people putting out information on things that they don't know anything about. And so that's where
Mm.
I stop myself because I'm like, I'm not going to create a blog post about locks when I have no idea anything about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where
Yeah, I
the
mean,
randomness comes in, where it's like,
yeah.
it comes as it comes. There's no timeline, there's no deadline, there's no calendar. Like, all of that is made up rat race type stuff that I have let go of, because it puts me and my energy in a place that causes me to act out of force and need, instead of, like, going with the flow and like putting out good things, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. I think, I was speaking with someone yesterday, and one of the things that we were talking about was just about knowing your craft, right? Being able to share your expertise, and staying on top of your industry and industry trends, and the changes in the market, the things that are phasing out, what's just a trend and what's actually going to be a new chaos line in the process, right?
And that's another thing too that people get caught up with, is getting the instant gratification. And in my experience,
Hmm.
anything instant, first of all, is not good. And second of all, it doesn't last. And so what
Yeah,
I want to put out there, and what I'm seeing more and more, especially in the small business community, we are putting out things that are lasting. And that's what you have to focus
yeah.
on.
Yeah, 100%. That reminds me of trying to learn how to play "Lean on Me" on the piano, sitting on my granddaddy's lap when I was
Mhm.
like 4 or something, and I got frustrated, and I said, and I wanted to give up, and I said, "Granddaddy, this is hard. I don't want to do this anymore." And he just looked at me and he said, "Baby, anything that's easy ain't worth doing."
Yep.
And that sentence shaped so much of my life, and has driven so many of my decisions, because it was just like, huh, because the easy stuff, well, yeah, it's easy, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Why would you strive for that? So when we talked before, you did share a powerful story about learning to set boundaries with clients and overcoming the need to please everyone.
Mhm.
um can you elaborate on an instance or a story where setting a boundary was challenging, but it was ultimately the best thing for you, and maybe even for the client, or the best thing for your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened throughout. My business has been an ongoing thing since, I mean, when I very first started getting spiritual signs about like doing hair, and it started crossing my path, this
Mm-hmm.
all has been like a plan to continue to build brick by brick. And
Yeah.
so throughout all of this, I've encountered many toxic people. And I hate using the word toxic because I feel like it's like a buzzword right now, but I can't think of anything else in the moment to use. But just like an angry, like, nothing's going to make them happy type person. And it
Yeah.
comes down to one of those things where it's like, this is not, a lot of times people don't understand that what they're seeing on social media is a highlight reel of everybody's stuff. And then on top of it, it's
Yeah.
also on an algorithm. So you're constantly scrolling, seeing perfection, but you're not clicking on the profile to see their journey of how they got there. You're not clicking the
Yeah.
other things that are coming through. Like, all you're doing is seeing like all this perfectionism thrown in your face all day long. And so when you get out into the real world and you, for instance, go and get your hair done and it doesn't turn out to look like an edited, filtered Pinterest picture, not only that,
Mm-hmm.
but 9 times out of 10, these girls are looking at these Pinterest pictures, and it doesn't matter what the hair looks like. They want to look like that girl. And so that's what they're trying to get
Yeah.
you to turn them into, is that girl that they're seeing, which
Yeah.
obviously is impossible. But their brain is not allowing them to look at that and say, I want that hair. Can I see that hair on myself? It's the same thing with like clothing.
Yeah.
Clothing shopping and hair is like very, very, very similar when it comes to like women's
Yeah.
brains and conditioning and programming and all of this stuff. And what it comes down to, that's why I focused on the health of the hair, because it doesn't matter. I can make your hair any color you want in the entire world. But if it's not healthy, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to last you, and it's going to end up breaking. And hair is a very sacred spiritual thing. It's an extension of your energy. It's an extension of your crown chakra. And so I've seen this, and no one's putting out the information, but not only does like factors come into play, like box color, with the heavy metals, what products you're using at home that's coating the hair and putting things on your scalp and in your scalp. But also things like trauma. I've literally seen girls' hair, as I lighten their hair, not lighten good. And it has nothing to do, they're using the best products. They've never used box color, but they just went through a very traumatic experience, and it's showing in their hair.
Yeah.
A lot of stylists don't make that spiritual connection, which comes into play. And that's when we see things like, oh my God, the stylist like burnt my hair off, or, she cut it weird and all this stuff. And then it also comes down to actual experience with the stylist themselves, where like, what training did they do? Who's teaching them what? Because in my experience, I had to learn everything by myself. I had to teach everything. Like, I learned bare basics from people that were actually supposed to teach me, and everything else I pieced together on my own. So that also comes into play. And that's just human. Like, there's so many people in this world with so many experiences and how they learn and think. And so that, plays a part too. But, sorry, I totally went off on a rant right there. Remind me of the question so I can go back.
No, so I was asking, setting boundaries
okay.
for the benefit of yourself or your business with clients. Yeah.
So first I had to set those boundaries with myself. I had to really define and be brutally honest with myself about what I was doing, all the responsibility that comes along with doing hair. And then I can set those boundaries with clients, where it's like, I know if a client is on the same page with that, or if they're not there yet. And so I'm able to, yes, obviously in the moment, sometimes it's hard to not take it personally, because I put my heart and soul into my business. And so when someone just isn't happy for whatever reason it is, I can look at them now based on these experiences of at first being triggered by them and getting upset. Like, how dare they not like the hair that I'm doing on them? Do they know what goes into it and all this stuff? When it's like, whoa, dude, like, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
But also now I'm able to, instead of getting defensive, of being like, okay, we are just not in alignment. You're not the client for me right now at this time. Maybe in the future you will be, but there is someone else out there. Luckily, this business is completely oversaturated with people. So there's plenty of stylists for people to go and pick from. The thing that I find that the boundary that people often cross in this particular industry versus other industries is that they do not value it. And so they say things and do things that are very hurtful, and learning how to not take that personally first was very difficult. I would say also the boundary of when people, for instance, like my booking appointment, you can go and book an appointment with me and it asks for a credit card, and that's for my cancellation policy. And so it's supposed to protect me against no-shows and cancellations, where I can then charge someone. And people will figure out a way to put a card on file that doesn't have money. So then they'll no-show me, and I'll go to charge it, and I'm completely out.
Yeah.
Setting
and they're not thinking about your time, your energy, your contribution. You were there. You were ready for them. You potentially turned down other clients because they had that time slot, and now you're completely out. That's, definitely an unfortunate and really just crummy way to be,
and it's just,
it's not,
I've had to learn how to not take that personal, because people don't think that way. But it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, but why like, I know this lesson. I don't treat people like that, but like, are they going to learn it? Because
Yeah.
it gets to a point where it impacts, like, especially small business, where it's like, I can't pay my bills when people do that to me. Luckily, it's very rare. But when it
Yeah.
does happen, things like having a cancellation policy in place to be able to charge people for it is a huge boundary that I had to learn how to set and not feel bad about setting it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and we have to do that. And, you know, I think that kind of rounds us out to like looking back on your entrepreneurial journey. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self? Is there anything you wish that you would have known or done when you first started Beauty to Die For?
Honestly, no, because I think that every experience has led me to be where I'm at. Without people crossing boundaries, I would have never learned how to set them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never
Mm-hmm.
known what needed to be set. Like,
Yeah.
I would have never known that I needed a cancellation policy had people not no showed me.
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
never known that, the beauty industry is not regulated with its products had I not started reading labels because, you know, all these people are sick around us. Like, I really try to
Mm-hmm.
use the negatives to develop
Yeah.
instead of getting sucked down and consumed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the organic journey
Mm-hmm.
um, that we can have. Amy, thank you so much for the conversation today.
Of course.
I have
Sorry I ramble.
truly no, you know, I think it's a testament. Our conversation today is a testament to no one way. There's no one single way. And
Exactly.
there's definitely not one way that is for everyone or, you know, that works for everyone. So I appreciate your insights so much. And I truly, truly love the passion and the focus that you put into giving the best solution to all of your clients all of the time and putting the hair first. So, Hustles and Haboobs listeners, it has been an incredible conversation with Amy Johnson, Beauty to Die For. That's DYE. Amy, can you tell our viewers how they can contact you or reach out to you if they're interested in learning more about holistic hair care or just hearing more about your story?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Um, yeah, all the things, TikTok.
All right. Love it, love it. We'll make sure to tag or tag those items down in the show notes. And thanks everybody so much for tuning in. And we will see you next time on Hustles and Haboobs.